Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this episode we know Harry runs, but this episode we want to try and get Harry running a little bit smoother. Alright, those of you who were watching the last episode will have seen that Harry actually runs. And after almost 5 years of playing around, yes, Harry is actually running, which is amazing, and I am over the moon. But as you also may have seen, Harry runs like garbage. So there's a few things I need to actually fix up before we can get back on with Adam in New Zealand. He's can take hold of the computer again, and we can try starting it and getting it to run a bit smoother. And there's a few plans for that. But the first thing I'm going to tackle is I've got to get my my lambda sensors to work. So my exhaust temperature sensors, my oxygen sensors, sorry, are not working. From the readouts that the ECU's been getting, it's been giving me an error saying that heating too long. Basically, it looks like the power signal is not getting through. So that's the first thing I'm going to check. Is we're going to go through and check my dodgy wiring. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I fixed the lambda sensors. That was a pretty easy repair to do. I think I connected the power to the wrong output on the ECU, so I've got them through directly to 12 volt power, which is what they need. So next thing, we're going to move back to the back of the car. Alright, so most of you would have seen that the engine was running really badly last week, and I'm pretty sure the main reason for it is the fact that these individual throttle bodies aren't synced together. So basically, most cars generally run one big individual throttle body, one big single throttle body, and it goes into a plenum, and then you've got these sort of, might have some bell mounts or something inside that, but that's how they run. So it's all off of one butterfly valve. The thing is these each have their own butterfly valve inside that are all potentially just open and closed at slightly different levels. So, cylinder 1 might be going, I want to be revving up here, and cylinder 2 is revving down here, and the whole thing is all over the place. So the mixtures are all over the place because one is getting more air than the other, but they're all getting the same fuel. So everything is all up in the air until I get these balanced. Now, I do have the vacuum balance gauge, which I will use when I get the car started. But to start with, to go through, I was trying to work out ways to get the butterflies all together. So when I installed them, they were all basically, I made sure they all looked like they were all nice and closed. But I don't know whether that's the best way to go. Adam briefly at length suggested using feeler gauge. The trouble is because they're curved butterflies, they're not going to work very well. But one of you guys actually suggested using a drill bit. So drill bits are obviously a nice, tiny, fine drill bit. If I can get that down between the throttle blade and the edge of the bell mouth, I can get them all to the exact same spot like you would do with a feeler gauge, and get them all as close as I can before we start, and then I can fine tune once the engine's actually running and get them all balanced nicely, and then hopefully it should run smoothly. That's the plan. Let's start balancing these throttles. All right, the balance seemed to be quite a bit out over some of these. They were all over the place, so I still don't know. I mean, that's not the most accurate method of doing it, but I've got them sort of closer now, and the only way to really do it, as I said, is going to be when it's actually when it's running. So next thing to do is to start pulling plugs and cleaning plugs, and then hopefully once all the plugs are clean, then I can try and restart it. All right, it's a bit of pain to pull plugs. I pulled a couple off of the bottom bank, and here's just one off the top. And if this is going to focus, you can see there, it's dark, it's quite black, but it's actually not really caked up. So I'm going to go through and clean them anyway, make sure that they're all nice and neat and tidy. I mean, that just wipes off with my finger. I'll go through, I'll tidy them all up and reinstall them and see if it makes a difference. One tip for pulling out and putting in spark plugs is, particularly in deep sockets where it's hard to get to, use the spark plug socket to pull them out, which has got a rubber bushing in there. And then I just use the same size long socket without a rubber bushing in it to put them back in, because otherwise this thing gets stuck on the socket. You end up pulling the junction off and this stays on, on the spark plug and you can't get it out. So tip for young players. All right, so I got the spark tester down here, and while I was playing around with the spark plugs, I thought I'd check and see if my lower core packs are actually firing, and I found that they aren't. So I did a quick test with my test light. The signal is coming through to the core pack, but and there is ground, but there is no power. So the power signal is not coming through. So that is the next thing I need to do, is to check that circuit and make sure that that's working. All right, some of you did actually ask about a quick rundown on how I test circuits. So basically, I know that these fuses here send power directly through these wires all the way up to the back of these relays, and when the power is switched on, sends power through the front terminals of this these relays through to this bulkhead connector. That bulkhead connector then goes through my wiring loom down to my core packs. Now, I did a quick check on the relays, and both relays, the power is getting through both relays, so there's no problem there. When I turn it on, I've got power at both of these. And I also went through and checked continuity between these two middle pins are pin A and B, which are A is the top round of core packs and B is the lower round of core packs. I put a pin in B on my multimeter, and then the other end down into the pin on the core pack, and then I set my multimeter up onto continuity, which is this little symbol here. And when you connect them together, and when they make a circuit, you can see it goes down to a resistance of 0.001. That basically tells you that they are connected. So that means that there is a signal going through that wire. So I knew that at least my loom was good, because I didn't want to have to unpick the whole loom to try and find out where I had a dodgy connection. And I then checked this fitting here, and I realized that my power is getting through to A, but it's not getting through to B. So there's something between the core packs and this fitting here that I messed up in the wiring. So it's pretty easy to track it down now. I'm just going to, I've already unscrewed this fitting. I'll just unbolt this, go through behind and see where I made a mistake, which I'm not really too surprised about. Okay, so I managed to uncover the problem. One of my pins into my bulkhead connector had come loose. I hadn't crimped it very well, obviously, and I managed to make an extraction tool out of some brake line, which is just the right diameter, drill out the center of it so it can slide over, because basically the way you sort of have to slide this over the back, which pushes the clips out, so then you can push the pin back out. I don't have the proper tools, but this worked quite well. So for the big ones, there's your little tip. There's an extraction tool. I'm going to crimp it on again, make sure it's nice and sturdy, clip it in, and then hopefully we have working core packs. All right, we've set up Benny's circuit tester again, so I'm going to run a test pass and just see if our coil is firing. Definitely working. All right, I think I'm ready to give Adam at Link ECU another call and see if we can get him on the manning the computer from his end, and try and get this thing running a little bit better. Let's see how it goes. That already sounds like it's blowing a lot of it's smoking a lot. It's definitely missing. I'll use the temperature sensor underneath and see what I can find. Shut it off. Oh yeah, that one's out. Okay, we've got at least 2 cylinders out. We've got cylinder 1 and cylinder 5 are not running. So, all right, so that was running on 4 cylinders, not 6. Cylinder 4 and cylinder 1 are not firing. So, sorry, cylinder 5 and cylinder 1 are not firing. So I'm going to go just pull the plugs on them, see if I can clean them up and see if I can double check that they are going to run again. Oh yeah, that plug is black. You can try the injector. Yep, definitely hear it. All right, so we were running on 4 cylinders and we were missing cylinder 1 and cylinder 5. Cylinder 5 looked like the top plug was completely fouled and the bottom plug I'd unclipped for checking it and hadn't plugged it back in again. So it had no spark to cylinder 5 and an injector test on all the injectors. Injector 1 wasn't firing either. So we didn't have injector cylinder 1, we didn't have cylinder 5. Hopefully now we can start it and have all 6 running. All of them, that'd be good. Oh. Sort of sounds like it might be missing again on 1. I'll check cylinder 5 again. No, it seems like 5's running. No, maybe they're all running. That's sounding better. That sounds way better. Yeah, that looks like I've got it a bit closer. So that it sounds so much better. And you can see that the cylinders are quite well balanced. See, the little red ball comes up to about the same spot on every cylinder. That is what it's supposed to sound like. Very happy. It runs, it idles beautifully now. It is going really well. Basically, we've reached the limit of what we can do with it for now. My alternator's not working properly, so I need to check that and see what's going there. So it's not worth Adam going through and doing too much tuning while he's still playing around with some of these things. The alternator's always going to create more draw, so it's not worth him fine-tuning everything, and then the extra load on the engine is going to change everything anyway. But we have a win. Yes! The battery's not doing well, but it starts. All right, that was probably a quick one today, but it actually runs and drives. I did a lot of troubleshooting. I found a bunch of bits and pieces that I hadn't, that I'd messed up, which does not surprise me one little bit. But it's running, it sounds great. It's that is how it's supposed to be. It's still not going to be able to drive though, because we still have a bunch of things we have to finish. There's no clutch. It's still missing front brakes. It doesn't have any drive shafts in it. There's a bunch of things we still need to do. So before I keep playing around with the engine, now we know it works. It's had its basic run in. That part we're quite comfortable with. So now it's time to get the rest of it going, so we can actually, hopefully, get it out on the road and actually take it for its first drive. I've never ever driven this car. I bought it not running, so it would be nice to finally, after so many years of work, drive it. All right, guys. Well, if you're enjoying the videos, please hit that subscribe button. It does actually make a difference, at least to our sponsors and things like that. And like it as well. If you want to help us out, you can always watch the videos a day early by helping us out on Patreon. And if you're going to search for any parts for your Project Porsche, try PorschePartsByJeff.com and compare prices there first. All right, guys. See you next time.